Hello and happy holidays to all. Josh here. I just thought of a good idea that I would do a best of 2023 Giant Take moments. So that's what you're about to watch. It's just kind of stuff from throughout the year, whether it's our episode on January 1st of 2023, talking about how the Giants clinched a playoff berth to the Indianapolis Colts, or when they lost to the Eagles, or when we predicted in the mock draft, our first one, that the Giants would pick Deonte Banks and JMS. So just a bunch of little stuff from the year. I know it's a longer video, but hope you enjoy. And again, happy holidays to all and wish you the best in 2024. Happy New Year, New York Giants fans. And wow, what a way to start 2023 off with a bang. The New York Giants are now playoff bound for the first time since 2016. Alex, happy New Year. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to start 2023 off with a bang. Hopefully every day of this year will be as good as today was for the Giants. Playoff bound. Feels good. It feels a lot longer than 6 years. It feels like it's been 30 years. But it was just a great day to be a Giants fan, and I'm just happy the Giants are back in the playoffs.
The New York Giants are still standing, and they are going to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. They're going to be in Philadelphia next weekend, Saturday or Sunday, we don't know the date yet, to face the Philadelphia Eagles, our NFC East rivals, and the champions of the NFC. But that doesn't even matter now, because you know what? The Giants, they got their revenge. And they didn't get their revenge in no regular season game against the Minnesota Vikings on no goddamn game-winning field goal, right? No Graham Gano game winning. No. It was a decisive victory in Minnesota's home stadium. And their fans can go do skull chants elsewhere. Alex, we're here. And I said on the preview podcast that we made Giant Take history. Why? Because it was our first playoff preview ever in our podcast history. Well, here's our first. We're making Giant Take history again. Here's our first playoff recap episode and playoff victory recap episode in Giant Take podcast history. My name is Josh. Alex, my co-host, my friend. We are teenager guests. We haven't had a long life as many other Giants fans have. But in the time span that we have been New York Giants fans, it has been a painful watch and a painful following for this team. For the last decade, since they won a Super Bowl back in 2012, but it was the season of 2011. We watched an Odell Beckham-driven team with Eli Manning in his older years take the team to one playoff game that I remembered before this one today. They got absolutely crushed by the Green Bay Packers, but this one was different, complete different energy, with a new coaching staff, a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, a new GM, and a new-looking team. How are you, sir?
Today was an amazing day. The last time I witnessed the Giants win a playoff game, I was in first grade. Not even sure, what a penalty was. I just thought they were doing that for fun. I thought Mario Manningham and Eli Manning were brothers. I had no idea. That was the last time I saw the Giants win a playoff game. Alex,
it really seemed like the refs in this game actually were still reminiscing on your first grade years.
I think
it really
so.
Didn't seem like they knew what a penalty was either with Dexter Lawrence and all of that stuff. And Kayvon Thibodeau. We'll get into all of it, but continue.
Maybe I was right all along, but to see my Giants finally return to the playoffs. 2016, to be honest, doesn't even count. It was such a painful ending against the Packers. I just shove it to the side. I don't think about it. To see the Giants finally back in the playoffs, finally doing something meaningful, playing meaningful football late in the year with a new regime, no longer having Eli Manning on this team, no longer having that leadership, building around Daniel Jones, a player that people doubted for years and years, including myself, including Josh, including 95% of the fan base, besides the 5% or so that I'd say were always Daniel Jones fans. But for the majority, he was 6th overall pick, and no one was happy that he was taken there. And he showed up in this big game, over 300 yards, passing 70 yards plus, rushing, 2 touchdowns, and then just overall game control from Daniel Jones, a true leader. And then Saquon Barkley, over 100 yards on both the ground and receiving. Those two guys, they've been the key points of this season, key players for the Giants, both uncertain if they were going to be sticking around, going past this season. Now it looks almost certain that those guys will be sticking around and being key pieces for the Giants in the future. And then, just this whole team, this coaching staff. When I think of this Giants team, I think of those two guys, and I think about this coaching staff. Brian Daboll has revolutionized the Giants since he went for it on for 2 against the Titans in week 1. He has completely changed how this organization thinks, how they move forward, how they look at games, their perspective on things. And I think that has just brightened up this Giants team. And we saw it again today where Daboll would go for it. He went for it on 4th down around the 15-yard line where you knew he had to get it. Maybe it might have been safer to get the field goal at that time, considering that, Vikings had just kicked a field goal. Just kick it back. Vikings offense was kind of a little slow at the time. No, he knew that was the right thing to do. He trusted in his offense, even though this play didn't work out, even though we actually ended up not, not having a great outcome on this play. Daboll trusting his defense and saying, no, we don't want 2nd and 19. We'll take 3rd and 9. We'll give our defense one shot. We believe in them. It'll get us the ball back quicker. Of course, it didn't work out, but hey, you don't win 100% of the time. But I'll tell you what, I bet you that gave the defense confidence going later into the game and eventually making that huge 4th down stop to ice the game. So overall, just super proud of the coaching staff, the general player population, of course, and then Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, because I think those two guys are just the leader of this football team, and I just can't wait to keep going. I have a Daniel Jones jersey, need to get a Saquon Barkley jersey, because those two guys are going to be the cornerstone of our franchise for at least the next few years. I think after a bye week, teams are always sluggish coming out. If the Giants could get off to a quick start, get a couple of touchdowns early like they did in this game, I think they could shock the Eagles, but that's a big if. And I think that's going to be the key that Brian Daboll is going to be really, punching in, cementing into these players' brains is, hey, these guys have been sitting on the couch. They were sitting on the couch last weekend. They're not as revved up and ready to go as we are. Yes, they may have more rest, but we will have more energy in that first half. And if we can get a lead that we can hold on to, that could be a positive sign for the Giants. So that's just something to think about while you wait for our preview. There you go. I gave you a little cliffhanger.
Welcome to another episode of the Giant Take podcast, and I've been continuing to say it throughout this playoff run, so I'm going to say it for one last time. We have once again made Giant Take podcast history for our first ever divisional recap episode, and we've also gotten our first Giant Take playoffs loss episode. It's bittersweet, but we had this run. And I don't even care about where the podcast goes from here as, seniors in high school. And obviously we hope to continue it through our college careers and past that point as well into when we're 90 years old. At least we were able to kind of have this experience and take it in together as a group. And we can say that we were indeed a playoff podcast at a point in time. New York Giants lose this game in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. Or the NFL playoffs, but in the NFC divisional round to the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 38-7. Philadelphia Eagles coming into this game as the best team record-wise in the NFL. It's 14-3. The Giants were 9-7-1 in the regular season. They were 0-2 against the Eagles, lost away, lost at home. And we came into this game expecting something different. Maybe not a win, even though we might have predicted a win, as the Giants fans just hoping for a victory.
This game, and you're like, oh, this was a disappointing night. And then obviously you have to look at the season as a whole overall and say that this has been a wildly successful season. So it's a tough night, 30 minutes or so after the end of the game here when we're recording this. Right now, of course, it never feels good to lose to the Eagles or any divisional opponent in the NFC East. And never feels good to lose in the playoffs. But at this point in time, you got to look at the two rosters and say the Eagles just flat out have a better roster than the Giants, a much better roster than the Giants, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. And it's going to be time, the Giants are just going to have to build this team. This is Joe Schoen's going to be his first kind of full off season here with the New York Giants. Same with Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll didn't have the best night tonight. After the Giants went down by 3 scores, it kind of felt like he kind of lost it a little bit in terms of his play calling, his decision making. But, everyone for the Giants tonight was just not good enough. Key mistakes were made. Even if the Giants played their best and didn't make, key, silly, bad mistakes, I'm still not sure they could have won this game because I think the Eagles were just that on fire tonight. And they just really showed why they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern, in the whole NFL, actually, but number 1 in the NFC. But, it's a tough loss, but I think this Eagles team, the 49ers team, Cowboys team, I think those teams, there's just a little bit of a different notch above the Giants that they are. And I think it's really tough. You can have good coaching that can kind of make up for some of the talent disparity. But at a certain point, when the talent is just so much greater on one side than the other, it just gets really, really difficult. And I think that's just what the Giants, came to face tonight. And that's just the reality of the situation.
We're back now with a very special guest, a recurring guest here on the Giant Take podcast, Chalk and Giants co-host Bobby Skinner, who's actually just watching the Daytona 500 about a week ago now, and he's joining us today. We appreciate you coming back on to take our questions once again. So thank you for that, Bobby. How you doing?
Good. Thank you guys for having me on. I didn't really appreciate the being harassed by Josh about the Nets at the start, but it's all good.
He's really a pain sometimes. It's really frustrating.
All right, the boys are back in town. We got Daniel Jones staying with the New York Giants in a 4-year, $160 million deal. I can't even speak right now. I got my wisdom teeth out yesterday, so I don't even know how this is sounding right now. Whatever. But 4 years, $160 million, going to be $35 million more in incentives, excuse me. And because of that news coming out at exactly 3:57 p.m., the Giants are able to use the franchise tag on running back Saquon Barkley. That's going to be about, I believe, $10.1 million. We are recording this video at 4:15, so very scuffed. It's just going to be a quick one, kind of getting our opening thoughts out here. Me with the 4 teeth in the back of my mouth where I don't even know if I'm sounding correct, and also for some reason I'm stuffy. So this is wonderful. Alex, how are you? Giants, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. The boys are back in town.
I'm a little bit shocked. I didn't think they were going to get to a deal once it was about 3:55 and we heard absolutely nothing. I am surprised a bit. I mean, we're going to have to see the structure of the deal. Right now, all we know is 4 years, $160 million. So that, with simple math right there, is $40 million a year. But how is this deal really going to be structured, right? Because we saw Geno, it looked like his contract, it was 3 years, $105 million, but it really is about a $25 million a year deal. Derek Carr was coming out to 37.5. It really was more like 33. So what is this Daniel Jones deal actually going to look like? Obviously, we're probably not going to know that for a couple of hours now, but off the bat, 4 years, $40 million, certainly a lot of money for Daniel Jones. I mean, in terms of where that puts him in, Dak Prescott got a 4-year, $160 deal. Matt Stafford got a 4-year, $160 deal. Derek Carr obviously just got 4 years, $150. Geno 3, $105. I mean, it's certainly a lot, but I think it was something that the Giants had to do here because of the fact that this is such a big offseason. It gives them now cap flexibility, most likely in free agency. And, now you have your quarterback locked down for the next several years. But we obviously don't have the details, like I keep saying over and over again. So it's really hard to judge at this current moment, but obviously we want to get a reaction out initially, at least for the initial numbers. And then for Saquon, I'm happy he's back. I'm happy he's back on the tag. I wouldn't want to pay a running back more than $10 million a year. So this tag, I think, does that. Honestly, if this didn't make him unhappy, I would keep tagging him every year. But it's going to be interesting to see, is Saquon going to want to play on the tag? Is he going to get an extension? Is he going to sit? Is he going to refuse to play? Are the Giants going to possibly trade him? Who knows? All the possibilities are certainly open. But I'm happy that they're back. But I do feel like Joe Schoen may have possibly given in here at the very end. I kind of want to know, because it sounds like they were at a standstill at around 3 o'clock, 3:30. Who blinked here? Was it Jones? Like we might not ever know, right? Was it that this was Joe Schoen's stopping point and Jones and his agents came down, or did Joe Schoen come up to Jones and his agents' demands? We'll probably never know, but I think that's the curious part. And who caved first? Who blinked?
Welcome to the Joe Schoen era, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Schoen era. Joe Schoen and the New York Giants have just traded for Darren Waller of the Las Vegas Raiders. They trade their 100th pick in this year's NFL draft, a third-round pick that they actually got for trading Kadarius Toney earlier this season. So if you want to look at it from a logistics standpoint, basically the New York Giants traded Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller. But we end up going cornerback here, and it's Deonte Banks out of Maryland. He's 6 foot, 197 pounds. He was one of the guys, I believe, that we talked about when we ranked our top cornerbacks in this year's draft class.
57 in round 2 here. We've got center John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, 6'4", 306. This is obviously an interesting one because he actually fell surprisingly in about 3 out of the 5 mock drafts that I did. Into that late second round, and that is why I took him. A lot of people are saying he might not be there, but he was there, so I decided to take him.
The New York Giants select Deonte Banks.
Okay.
Let's go.
That's perfectly
Let's
fine.
go. Let's go.
Now, I'm surprised why Porter keeps falling. There's got to be something there because going into the draft, I think, ranked him third behind Witherspoon and Gonzalez.
Yeah.
As many also other draft experts did. However, Banks was high. Didn't we pick him at 25?
We did in one of our 1.0.
In our first ever mock draft, I think we picked him at 25.
Very, very excited. Okay, that's good. He was probably my number 2 choice.
He's got good height. He's got good weight.
He's quick, 4.35. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. They had a top 30 visit with him. He is a speedster. He was projected as more of a first-round wide receiver, maybe even early second. And he's a guy who's going to blow the top off the defense, and they've got a deep threat now, the Giants do, going forward here. And a receiver that the Giants needed very desperately. Is he going to be your alpha number 1 receiver that many Giants fans wanted? Probably not. But in terms of his speed, that 5-touchdown game against Alabama, I think this is a great pick. And obviously the Giants felt like they needed to come up and get their wide receiver, and they clearly coveted Jalen Hyatt, and he's got all the tools to be a really, really good receiver in the next level.
You know, the whole pun here is we're talking about the New York Giants, and we have some big takes out there. So it's the name of our podcast, and what I am going to right now is that
I'm really worried about what you're going to say. I'm really worried.
So I'm going to get into it, please. I have a Giant take, and it's something after this game that it's really not so big. But if I told you this before week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, you would be like, what are you talking about? And I'm saying this. At the end of week 4 and this Monday Night Football game, the Giants season is over.
Well,
unless they tell me something otherwise, or not even tell me, show me on the field that they can get a touchdown in a football game that's not against the Arizona Cardinals, this 23-24 New York Giants season is done. Poo-poo, crap, whatever, I don't care. It's over. Teams 1 and 3. The team's going to lose their next 2 games. They're playing AFC East opponents. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong. We got Dolphins first next week, then the Bills doing that. Those are going to be absolutely terrible games to watch, just like this one. More points added on, though, by both those teams. You saw those teams play each other this weekend. What an amazing thriller between the Bills and the Dolphins. And now we're placing the poverty Giants franchise that we just watched tonight against those 2 teams in the next 2 weeks. Boom, 1 and 5. And where do we go from there? You want to tell me they win 7 games in a row? And then we go to 7 and 5? And then we're like in this wild card era of, oh, can we possibly make it? You know, can we do that 5 games in a row? Sorry, it would be 6 and 5. Thank you, Alex, for looking up at the heavens there thinking, how could Josh be so bad at math? I figured it out. But 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row, whatever. You know, that's my Giant take, Alex. That's it right there. This Giant season is over unless they show me otherwise, and I really don't think they will. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another winning episode of the Giant Take podcast. My name is Josh, and I'm joined by my friend and my co-host, Alex. The Giants win on prime time. What is going on? It snaps a 9-game losing streak for the G-Men on Monday Night Football. 9 games. That's unbelievable. It's the first Giants home win on Monday Night Football since November 14th of 2016, when the Giants beat the Bengals 21-20. How many wins does Daniel Jones have on prime time, more specifically Monday Night Football? That's a nice goose egg for everyone at home watching or listening. It's 0. But how many does the man, how you doing, keep it moving, Tommy DeVito have? 1, baby. And that win came tonight. I'm Josh, and I'm joined by Alex. I said it already. I don't care. We're going back-to-back name drops. Alex, this Giants team is 1 game away from the NFC wildcard spot, while also still having a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. If you want to look at it both ways, they have the 8th pick in the draft and are a game away from the wild card. How you doing?
The best of both worlds, Josh. I'm doing great. It was a fun win. Probably the best win of the season so far, I'd say. Maybe debatable, but I don't know. It was the most fun to watch. You had pregame with Tommy DeVito's agent, who looked straight out of, I don't even know where he'd be out of, but he fit exactly how he should have fit. The family tailgate beforehand.
I'll tell you what he looked out of. He looked straight out of either Godfather, Goodfellas, or any other Italian mob movie you could think of. A Martin Scorsese film, all dolled up for a 4-hour. When you're going to sit on the couch and watch an Italian mob boss movie from like 4 hours long, like The Irishman or something like that, you're going to see Tommy DeVito's agent sitting there with that top hat on and the suit and all of the above. And how about him sitting with the family, by the way, and standing up and them kissing each other during the break when Tommy DeVito got that score? Oh, my goodness. Tommy Cutlets going at him. And I can't believe I name dropped that before you did.